Well, it's going to be quite easy to show that Flat Earth Banjo is wrong, and the equinox actually destroys the Flat Earth model. But more interesting is I'm going to take a look at some comments between Flat Earth Banjo and a Glober, and it really shows that he has absolutely no interest in the truth, and he's more interested in pushing the Flat Earth narrative.
We have an interesting video today. Let's talk about the September 22nd equinox, which destroys the globe Earth model. A couple of flat earthers in Brazil decided to go to the city of Macapá to make some experiments on the equinox day.
So the Brazilian flat earthers went to this equator line monument in Macapa City. And apparently there was a $20,000 bet made by a university professor in regards to the exact compass direction of that sunrise.
So Bruno decided to go and check the equinox on September 22nd. And one of the professors, the globe Earth professors, he offered like $20,000 if he had a result different from Stellarium. So the professor gave him the position of the sunrise on the 22nd, which should be 89 degrees from the east, and on the 23rd, the following day, according to the heliocentric model, had the sun already crossed the equator, would be rising south of the equator, causing the small obelisk to have a shade towards the northwest. So something really interesting happened when Bruno was there, and he registered everything. Now,
Well, Banjo is quite confused about compass directions because on the 23rd the sun would be rising almost due east at 90.13 degrees. So why did he say the obelisk shadow would be to the northwest, when it would actually be almost due west at 270.13 degrees? Also, the sun rising at 89 degrees in 30 minutes on the equinox does make sense in Macapa because the equinox actually occurs at 10:03 p.m. at that location, which is almost 16 hours after sunrise.
so this is a picture of sunrise on September 22nd, and the reason I have 2030 there is because on the 23rd, the same thing was observed. Look at the picture, see the small obelisk, and that's towards the east, of course. And he was exactly on the equator line, and the red line shows exactly the equator line. And you can see the sun rising at about 84 degrees.
Now, there's nothing wrong running a red line up through the middle of the obelisk representing the equator, and of course this would be a compass direction of 90 degrees, but this would only be for a rough estimate. If Bruno wanted something more accurate, he should have used a theodolite. Now the measurement would be taken from the center of the sun. But I'm sorry, Banjo, this is not even close to 84 degrees, because this would be a 6-degree difference. But when we compare that to the sun's angular size of 0.53 degrees, well, we can see that Banjo wasn't quite interested in the truth and just made up the number 84 degrees. So here's a close-up of that photo with a scale ruler. And when I use that same ruler to measure from the center of the sun, well, it's pretty obvious that this would be a much better estimation at 0.44 degrees. Now, 89 degrees 30 minutes and 5 seconds equals 89.5 degrees, and 90 degrees minus 0.44 equals 89.56 degrees. So that means that the estimated error is about 0.06 degrees, which is less than 1/10 of a degree. And since this is only an estimation, I think this is pretty good evidence that this observation works on a globe.
Now, the interesting thing is, on the next day, when Stellarium and the professor had the sun rising at below the equator, 90, a little bit over 90 degrees, 91 degrees, something like that. But the same thing happened again. The very same thing happened. Sun rose again above the equator, about 84 degrees above the equator.
Let's take a look at both these photographs. This is the one on the 23rd with a timestamp of 7 minutes and 5 seconds. And this is the September 22nd photograph with a timestamp of 3 minutes and 40 seconds. So, Banjo, why are you using the same photograph? I mean, do you really think that we would believe that Bruno went there the next day, set up his camera at the exact same spot, just happened to catch sunrise at the exact same moment? So again, the September 22nd photograph, which of course is the same photo for the 23rd. So Banjo, it seems like you don't have any problem at all just making stuff up, do you? Now, Banjo also believes that the Gleason map is the flat Earth map, and this would have been his opportunity to show the world that the flat Earth explains this observation better than the globe. So let's apply this information to his flat Earth map, and I'll show you why he did not do this. Here's Macapa on the equator in Brazil. This is from timeanddate.com, and it shows that the sun's GP at sunrise was over the east coast of Africa. So this is Macapa on the equinox sunrise. And here's a compass showing the actual observed direction of sunrise at 89.5 degrees. Banjo, it looks like your flat Earth has a big problem here because it's predicting a sunrise at 45 degrees. So, Banjo, can you please explain why you think this observation destroys the globe model? Come on, Banjo, let's be honest. If you had any integrity at all, you would have made a video saying the equinox destroys my flat Earth model. So now we come to the very interesting back and forth between Flat Earth Banjo and Glober Thunder Witch, who points this out. And this is going to show that Flat Earth Banjo has absolutely no concern about the truth. So Thunder Witch starts with, so on the flat Earth model, shouldn't we expect early morning shadows to be roughly going 45 degrees southwest? Well, I really wasn't surprised that Banjo did not answer the question, so Thunder Witch tried again. Good on them. I'm asking a separate question. Using a flat Earth map for the following, at 6 a.m. in Brazil that day, the sun would have been directly above a place in Kenya, yes? Which is 45 degrees northeast from that place in Brazil, yes? If this is the case, why did the sun appear to rise roughly east of that monument? Again, Banjo does not answer the question. Now at the end, he says this is all that matters to prove the Earth is not a globe. Well, sorry, Banjo, because what you really need to do is show that your flat Earth model explains this observation better than the globe model, and you cannot do this. Well, Thunder Witch is persistent and tries again. I'd love if you would actually engage with my question. On the flat Earth model, at 6 a.m. on that day, the sun would be at a northeast direction from that monument. Yes or no? If no, could you tell me the place the sun was directly above at that time? If yes, could you explain why the shadow wasn't at a southwest angle? And Banjo finally answers the question. Oh, I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to transform this globe problem into a flat Earth problem. So Banjo, if the globe was within 1/10 of a degree of the observation, but the flat Earth was off by almost 45 degrees, how is this not a flat Earth problem? I mean, exactly what kind of logic are you using? And Banjo continues, well, I don't see any flat earther crying over the results of this experiment, but there are many globers in despair in Brazil, and many have already flipped the flat. Are you really serious that Brazilians have flipped the flat over your BS? Your sun is a physical sun, ours is not, and we don't know what it is. Banjo, that really doesn't make any sense, because if you don't know what the sun is, how do you know it's not a physical sun? I'm not worried about where the sun was on the flat Earth model. So Flat Earth Banjo has just admitted that he does not care about the truth. He is willing to ignore this so he can push the narrative of the flat Earth lie. Now, I also added a comment to this, but Flat Earth Banjo never did get back and reply to my question at the very end. Now, I live near the equator, and this is actually a very easy observation to explain on the globe. So here I've turned the globe sideways, and I put Macapa on the equator at the very top. This is the apparent path of the sun above the equator on the equinox. This is the sun's GP at sunrise on the east coast of Africa. And this is the sun at zenith above the GP, which would be seen at 89.5 degrees from Macapa that morning. Now, since the Earth's rotation is to the east, this means that Macapa rotates to the sun's GP at solar noon. And that rotation would continue until people in Macapa would see the sun setting in the west. So sorry, Banjo, but let's be honest here. Making stuff up and misrepresenting the globe is not evidence of a flat Earth. And it is also pretty obvious why you did not want to show this, because in reality, the equinox sun destroys the flat Earth.